I'm 84 years old, and for a long time, every step I took felt like a silent battle. There was a time when I thought the days of walking freely, running around, or simply stepping outside to enjoy the sunshine were gone forever. My knees ached, my feet burned, and every time I tried to climb a single step, I had to pause, take a deep breath, as if my body was begging me not to push it any further. But today, I'm here to tell you a different story, one about rediscovering my legs, reclaiming my joy, thanks to something no one would expect, a cooking oil nobody uses. Have you ever felt your body betray you, turning the simplest tasks, like walking to the corner store or tying your shoes, into impossible challenges? If the answer is yes, stay with me. I'm going to share something that might change how you see the years ahead, your own body, and the idea that it's never too late to live better. This isn't a story about miracles. It's not a promise of a magic pill or an instant cure, but it's real, and it began in the days when I thought I'd be trapped by pain forever. I won't promise you a perfect fix, but I will share a journey of someone who thought all was lost but found a small spark, enough to reignite hope. Are you dealing with aches that make you hesitate to move? Or do you know someone quietly suffering, not speaking up, but their eyes revealing everything? If so, keep listening. Maybe what I'm about to share will open a new door, a chance for you or someone you love to reclaim a piece of life you thought was gone. And the most surprising part? The secret lies right in your kitchen, in a bottle of oil almost no one notices. Stay with me, because this story isn't just about me. It's about all of us who believe age doesn't have to stop us from living fully. Years ago, not that long ago, maybe just a few years back, I started noticing my body wasn't the same. Mornings brought a strange stiffness in my legs. At first, I chalked it up to age, something everyone expects when they pass 80. But that stiffness didn't stay mild. It grew, like an uninvited guest who refused to leave. My knees began creaking, like old wooden boards rubbing together every time I stood up or sat down. The soles of my feet burned, especially at the end of the day, when I tried to walk a bit more than usual. Each step stopped feeling natural. It was like a negotiation between my will and my body. I wanted to move, but my body said, not today. I remember one time, just walking from the living room to the kitchen, a short distance in my own home. I had to stop halfway, gripping the edge of the table to catch my breath. My knees throbbed as if someone was tightening an invisible rope around them. My feet burned, like I just walked across a path of hot coals. I looked down at my legs, the ones that had carried me through so many moments in life. Walks with my husband, chasing after my kids, wandering through the market for fresh vegetables, and now they seemed unwilling to cooperate. I wondered, is this how life will be from now on? But the worst pain wasn't physical. Yes, my knees hurt, my feet burned, but what truly broke my heart was the loss of freedom. I started avoiding going out. The market just 2 blocks away, where I used to love picking out ripe tomatoes or chatting with the flower lady, became an impossible destination. I stopped walking to the nearby square, where my old friends gathered to share stories of the past. Even at home, I began second-guessing every move. Grab a glass of water? Maybe I'd wait for my daughter to come by. Check the mailbox outside? Maybe tomorrow. Each of those small decisions, unnoticed by others, was a piece of freedom stolen from me. One morning, I tried to do something simple. Put on my favorite wool socks. I sat on the edge of my bed, bent down, and suddenly a sharp pain shot up from my lower back, like a needle piercing my bones. The socks fell to the floor. I sat there staring at my bare feet, the socks lying alone on the ground, and I cried. Not because of the pain, but because of the helplessness. I, who prided myself on always doing things for myself, couldn't even put on a pair of socks. I felt like a faint shadow in my own home, as if I wasn't me anymore. I didn't tell anyone about that moment. I drank my coffee in silence, my feet cold, my heart even colder. If you've ever felt that way, when your body limits you, when the little things you once took pride in become burdens, you'll understand. It's not just physical pain. It's the ache of watching your life shrink day by day. I used to think pain was an inevitable part of growing old. Doctors said so too. During one visit, a young doctor looked at me with sympathetic eyes and said, "At your age, these pains are normal. Try to move more and you'll feel better." But how do you move more when every step is a challenge? How do you stay optimistic when your body constantly reminds you you're too old? That phrase, normal at your age, haunted me. It felt like a sentence, as if I had to accept living with pain just because I'd lived this long. I started asking myself, is this the price of reaching 84? Do I have to give up the small joys just because my body isn't what it used to be? For a while, I accepted it. I thought maybe this was my fate. That pain would be my constant companion until the end. But deep down, I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want my life to be reduced to sitting by the window, watching others live. I wanted to walk, to feel the sun on my face, to buy a warm loaf of bread myself. And then one ordinary day, something small changed everything. But before I get to that, let me share the days when I tried and failed to find my legs again. When pain becomes part of your life, you start trying anything that promises even a sliver of relief. I did too. I began with the obvious: painkillers, ibuprofen, acetaminophen, those little pills every household has. At first they worked. The pain eased, like it was stepping back to let me breathe. But then it returned, stronger, as if it had only hidden to gather more strength. Worse, my stomach started to suffer. I got heartburn, discomfort, even nausea at times. The doctor told me I needed to take a stomach protector with the painkillers. Isn't that strange? I was taking medicine to ease pain, but needed more medicine to fix the damage the first one caused. Then I turned to creams. You know the ones. Advertised as instant relief with cool menthol or natural arnica. I tried countless types, from ones with simple names to those with labels I couldn't pronounce. Each time I applied them, I felt a cool tingle on my skin, like a promise that things would get better. But deep in my joints, the pain stayed, unmoved. I remember standing in front of the mirror, rubbing cream on my knees, looking into my own eyes and wondering, am I fooling myself? Is it worth keeping hope alive? Every tube of cream, every pill was a spark of hope, but also another failure. And the cost, oh, the cost. Each new cream or box of pills took a chunk out of my modest pension. I also tried physical therapy, exercises designed for older folks. I found videos online, tutorials with gentle stretches, ankle rolls, slow arm swings. Some days I could do them and felt a hint of progress, like my body was trying to respond. But other days, just getting out of the chair was a battle. I bought a resistance band, some small weights, and was even gifted a stationary bike. I was so excited thinking I'd turn my living room into a mini gym. But the reality, that bike sits in the corner, draped with a dusty towel, a reminder of my failed attempts. It wasn't for lack of will. I wanted to be healthy, to walk, to live like before. But every time I tried, the pain pulled me back. I remember attempting a knee rotation exercise, but after a few minutes, I had to stop because it felt like my knees were about to break. I sat down panting, frustration washing over me. I wondered, is there anything that actually works? Or am I just torturing myself? Those exercises, even though designed for seniors, were sometimes too much for me. And each failure made me feel further from my goal. That frustration wasn't just physical, it seeped into my mind, my heart. I started wondering if I was fighting an unbeatable enemy. I looked at friends my age. Some still walked fine, others struggled like me. I asked myself, why me? Why can't my body keep up anymore? I stopped talking about my pain, not wanting to be the person who only complains. But that silence made me lonelier. I felt trapped in a cycle. Try, fail, hope, then despair again. Some days I'd look out the window, watching neighbors walk, kids play, and feel like I was on the sidelines of life. I remember my daughter inviting me to dinner at her place, just a few blocks away. I declined, not because I didn't want to go, but because I was afraid I couldn't walk there without stopping from pain. I lied and said I was tired, but the truth was I didn't want her to see how weak her mother had become. That feeling, having to hide my helplessness, hurt more than the physical pain. Have you ever felt that way? The sense that your body is holding you back from the life you love? If you know that feeling, you'll understand why I didn't give up, why I kept searching, even for just a tiny spark of hope. One day, a small spark appeared in a way I least expected. My grandson Tom, a physical therapist, came to visit one Sunday afternoon. Tom's always been curious, fascinated by natural remedies, and he has a habit of bringing me odd ideas I usually laugh off. That day, as we sipped tea, he noticed me stand up slowly, clutching the chair's back, my face wincing slightly from pain. He asked, "Grandma, are your knees still hurting?" I nodded, saying simply, "Every day, but I'm used to it." Tom didn't say much then, but his eyes, a mix of sympathy and determination, told me he was up to something. A few days later, he returned, holding a small, dark glass bottle with no label, sealed with a cork. The liquid inside was thick, a deep golden color with a strong, earthy scent, like roasted seeds in soil. "Grandma," he said, "I learned about this at a conference in India. A 92-year-old woman who still walks every day told me this oil was her secret to keeping her legs strong since youth." I looked at the bottle, then at Tom, and laughed. "Cooking oil? Are you teasing me?" But Tom was serious. He said, "It won't cost you anything. Try it for a week, then tell me how you feel." I'm not one to easily believe in such stories. After so many failures with pills, creams, and exercises, I'd grown skeptical. How could a bottle of cooking oil, no matter how unusual its smell, make a difference? But I loved Tom, and I didn't want to let him down. The bottle sat on my kitchen counter for a few days, like a strange guest I didn't know what to do with. Every time I passed by, I glanced at it, half curious, half doubtful. I wondered, is this just another letdown? Or could it be a chance I shouldn't pass up? Finally, after a sleepless night from leg pain, I decided to give it a try. I opened the bottle, poured a small teaspoon. The smell hit me, strong, spicy, almost challenging. I drank it with a glass of warm water, grimacing at the bitter, peppery taste. It wasn't pleasant, but it wasn't unbearable either. I told myself, just 1 week. If it doesn't work, I'll tell Tom I tried. The first day passed, nothing special. The second day, same thing. I started thinking I was right. This was just another of Tom's quirky ideas. But on the third day, something shifted, ever so slightly. That morning, as I got out of bed, I noticed my feet weren't as swollen as usual. My ankles, which often look like little balloons in the morning, felt lighter. I thought it might just be a coincidence. But on the fourth day, something even more surprising happened. I walked from my bedroom to the kitchen without holding onto the walls or furniture. I didn't plan it. It just happened naturally, as if my body suddenly remembered how to move without negotiating. I stood at the kitchen door looking back at the short distance I'd covered and smiled. Not because I was pain-free, but because, for the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. That night I slept better. I didn't wake up at 3 a.m. with stabbing pains in my legs. I wasn't sure if it was the strange oil or just my body giving me a kinder day. But I kept going, taking a teaspoon every morning, with a bit of doubt but growing hope. Those small changes began to add up, like tiny drops filling a glass. I started wondering, could something this simple really do what all those pills and creams couldn't? I wasn't fully convinced yet, but my body, with its lighter steps, was telling a different story. And that was just the beginning. After a week of using cold-pressed mustard oil, I began to realize the changes weren't just fleeting luck. One afternoon, I decided to try walking to the park at the end of my street, a place I'd only dared to watch from my window for months. Before I'd make it halfway, then have to stop, sit on any bench I could find, and catch my breath as pain shot through my back and legs. But that day, I grabbed my cane, not to lean on, but just to carry out of habit. I walked slowly but steadily, and something miraculous happened. I reached the park without stopping. I sat on a bench watching kids play, feeling the gentle breeze, and for the first time in so long, I felt truly alive, not just existing. Another time, I did something I thought was impossible. I climbed the stairs to my daughter's second-floor apartment, where there's no elevator. Before, I'd only visit if someone helped me up, or I'd wait for her to bring food down to my place. But that day, I wanted to try. I held the railing, took each step carefully, and though it was slow, I didn't feel the familiar stabbing pain. When my daughter opened the door, her eyes widened in shock. "Mom, you climbed up by yourself?" I just smiled, unsure how to explain. How could I say a teaspoon of cooking oil each morning gave me the legs to do it? But in that moment, seeing the surprise and pride in her eyes, I knew I hadn't just regained my ability to walk. I'd reclaimed a piece of myself. The most unforgettable moment was walking with my granddaughter Lily to the ice cream shop on the corner. Lily's only 6, with bright eyes and a radiant smile. Before, I could only watch her play in the yard, unable to keep up with her lively steps. But that day, I held her hand and we walked together slowly under the afternoon sun. As we sat eating ice cream, Lily looked at me and said, "Grandma, walking with you is so fun." Her smile, the sunlight on her little face, was a reward greater than any pill ever promised. I wasn't just walking again. I was making new memories, moments I thought I'd lost forever. Those changes weren't just about walking farther or climbing stairs. They were about reclaiming the freedom and dignity I thought I'd lost. I started doing the small but meaningful things again, buying a warm loaf of bread, sweeping the front yard, or visiting a neighbor to chat about old times. Each action, no matter how small, was a reminder that I was still me, not someone defined by pain. I remember one morning, as I swept dry leaves in the yard, I caught myself humming an old song, something I hadn't done in ages. That feeling, the sense of living, of doing things that made me feel useful, was something no cream or pill ever gave me. I also noticed that as I moved more easily, my mood lifted. I laughed more, talked more, and felt lighter, as if not just my body but my soul had been set free. One day, an old neighbor, Martha, saw me at the grocery store and said, "You look 10 years younger. What are you doing?" I laughed, unsure how to respond, but deep down I knew it wasn't just the mustard oil. It was the feeling of living with dignity, of walking without fear, of knowing that old age isn't a sentence. My story didn't stop with me. When I shared my experience with friends at the senior community center, they looked at me with half belief, half doubt, just like I'd looked at Tom's bottle of oil. But I didn't keep the secret to myself. I brought some oil to Susan, a friend who constantly complained about stiff hands that stopped her from knitting, her greatest joy. I showed her how to use it, a teaspoon each morning or a bit of warm oil massaged onto her hands, covered with a hot towel to relax. A week later, Susan called me, her voice trembling. "I knitted a scarf for my grandchild without dropping the needles." She wasn't crying because the pain was gone completely, but because she'd rediscovered a joy she thought was lost. Another friend, Helen, who'd struggled with hip pain for years, tried it after seeing me walk to the center without a cane. She told me, "I don't feel young again, but I can walk to church without worrying about falling." At our age, that's enough. Stories like Susan's and Helen's made me realize that when you share something good, it doesn't just help you. It ripples out, like waves on a lake. I started feeling like I wasn't just helping myself, but part of a community where we lift each other up, piecing together the fragments of our lives. Do you think a small change could create such a big impact? I've seen it, and I believe you can too. I'm not a doctor, but after seeing my body change, I wanted to understand why a bottle of cooking oil could do what so many other methods couldn't. I asked Tom, and I did some digging myself. It turns out cold-pressed mustard oil isn't just a kitchen ingredient, it's a treasure trove of natural compounds. It contains isothiocyanates, a powerful anti-inflammatory that soothes joints from the inside, like a gentle friend massaging the pain away. It's also rich in omega-3s and vitamin E, nutrients I learned are vital for bone and tissue health. Think of it like a natural lubricant, helping your joints move more smoothly, easing the painful friction. What impressed me even more is how mustard oil improves blood circulation. I used to get swelling in my ankles and feet, especially on cold days. But after a few weeks of using the oil, I noticed the swelling reduced significantly. Tom explained that the oil helps blood flow better, easing the numbness and heaviness in my legs. I like to think of it as a small stream running through my body, washing away the debris of fatigue and inflammation. The best part? You can use it both internally and externally. I've tried rubbing a bit of warm oil on my knees, and the soothing feeling is like a warm hug for my joints. Mustard oil isn't a new invention. It's been used for centuries in places like India and Bangladesh, where it's a cornerstone of traditional medicine. I learned that in many villages, older folks still rub mustard oil on their bodies before bed, like a sacred ritual passed down through generations. They don't need ads or prescriptions. They just know it works, as their grandparents did. I think of that 92-year-old woman Tom met in India, still walking daily with a radiant smile. She didn't need anyone to tell her mustard oil was good. She lived it, and that's the strongest proof. So why don't more people here know about mustard oil? I think the answer is simple. We're caught up in things that come in shiny packages with clear instructions and loud advertisements. A bottle of pungent oil with no label or big company behind it gets overlooked. But I believe ancient wisdom, like mustard oil, holds value we've forgotten. It's not glamorous, it's not on TV, but it has real power, proven through generations. To make sure I wasn't just buying into a folktale, I looked deeper and found that cold-pressed mustard oil has scientific backing. A study Tom sent me from a journal called Ethnopharmacology showed that isothiocyanates in mustard oil have anti-inflammatory effects comparable to some chronic pain medications. Another study from India listed mustard oil among traditional remedies effective for mild to moderate joint and muscle issues. These studies don't promise miracles, but they show that mustard oil isn't just a folk remedy, it has real reasons for working. I also learned that mustard oil doesn't have the side effects of many drugs I tried. It doesn't upset your stomach, make you drowsy, or create dependency. It's a food, something your body recognizes and appreciates, like a wholesome meal. I think of it as a companion, not forcing my body to stop hurting, but gently supporting it to heal in its own way. Now, cold-pressed mustard oil is a non-negotiable part of my daily routine. I don't do anything fancy, just a small teaspoon each morning before breakfast with a glass of warm water. I'll be honest, the taste was tough at first. It's bitter, a bit spicy like a mix of roasted seeds and strong seasoning. But after a few days I got used to it, and as I felt my body respond, the taste didn't matter anymore. I see it as a natural medicine. Not sweet, but powerful. Beyond drinking it, I use it for massage. On days when my joints feel stiff, I warm a little oil in my hands and rub it gently on my knees or lower back. Sometimes I soak a towel in hot water, wring it out, and place it over the oiled area. The warmth combined with the oil creates a deep, relaxing sensation, like my joints are being soothed from within. I don't do this every day, but each time I do, I feel my body come alive. If you want to try it, one thing is crucial. Not all mustard oils are the same. You need cold-pressed, unrefined oil. That's the kind that keeps all its healing compounds. Oils sold for cooking are often chemically processed or diluted, losing their potency. I also recommend checking with your doctor first, especially if you're on other medications or have specific health conditions. I told my doctor, and she smiled, saying, "If it's not harmful and makes you feel better, keep going." Sometimes the body knows things science hasn't fully explained. But I have to be honest, mustard oil isn't the whole story. It's a spark, a starting point. But to truly change, I learned to care for my body in other ways. One big shift was starting gentle exercise every day. Not heavy gym workouts. I'm talking about simple movements like ankle rolls, light stretches, or swinging my arms like I'm swimming in the air. I spend about 10 minutes each morning before my body has a chance to stiffen. On days I do it consistently, my joints feel lubricated, more flexible, ready for the day. I also learned to sleep better. Before I'd leave the TV on or scroll my phone before bed, but now I try to create a calm space. Sometimes I massage my feet with warm mustard oil before bed, not just for my joints, but to relax and sleep deeper. Good sleep, I realized, is a natural medicine. When you wake up without feeling like the world is pressing on your bones, you have more strength to face the day. As for eating, I didn't overhaul everything at once, but I started paying attention. I cut back on fried foods, sweets, and things like deli meats or processed bread. Things I learned can increase inflammation. Instead, I eat more greens, fresh fruit, in simple dishes like lentil soup or grilled fish. I'm no nutritionist, but these small changes made me feel lighter, like my body was thanking me for treating it better. The biggest lesson I learned is that no solution works overnight. Mustard oil isn't a miracle. It doesn't erase all pain in one night or give me the legs of my 20s. But when you stick with it, when you pair it with small lifestyle changes, it becomes a powerful ally. I think of my body as a garden. You can't water it once and expect flowers to bloom. You need to water, weed, and wait patiently. Mustard oil, along with movement, good sleep, and mindful eating, is how I water my garden. And that garden, even at 84 years old, can still bloom. At 84, I learned something I wish I'd known sooner. Pain isn't your fate, and old age isn't a closed door. A teaspoon of mustard oil each morning, a few gentle movements, a good night's sleep, and a bit of faith gave me the legs to keep going, to live with joy and dignity. My story isn't about regaining youth. No, I'm still 84, with gray hair and wrinkles that remind me of time. But I've rediscovered the ability to live, to walk without fear, to hold my granddaughter's hand under the sunlight. And if I, someone who thought everything was lost, could do it, so can you. Old age, I realized, isn't the time to give up. It's the time to love your body, to care for it with patience and respect, like you would a friend who's been with you through decades. A teaspoon of mustard oil isn't everything. It's a reminder that sometimes the simplest solutions bring the biggest changes. You don't need flashy or expensive things. You just need a little hope, a little effort, and a little belief that your body can still respond, no matter your age. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think of yourself or a loved one struggling with pain, I hope you'll spread it. Hit the like button to share a spark of hope, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe with the bell icon to join me in exploring more ways to live healthy and fully in our later years. Every small action you take is a ripple, bringing joy to others. In the comments below, tell me your story. What moment helped you rediscover joy in the little things? A tip, a lesson, or just a day when you felt fully alive? I'd love to read your stories because each one inspires us all. And if you have ideas to make my future videos more meaningful, leave a suggestion. I treasure every bit of feedback. It helps me bring better stories, deeper advice, so we can walk this journey together. Before I go, I want to leave you with this thought. Every step, no matter how slow or small, is your way of telling life you're still here, still trying, still worthy of joy. At 84, I learned it's never too late to start again, to care for yourself, to live with dignity. Try, be patient, and believe that your body, despite all its years, can still carry you to wonderful places. Thank you for being here with me. Keep walking, even slowly, and keep living one day at a time.